Who are you? It's been a minute. I don't even recognize your face anymore. It seems like I don't know where you've been. Thursday night with
where
your
the
boys.
hell are we?
I know. Like, where have I been for a while here? Folks, we have been on a slight hiatus. Your boys, we appreciate you guys sticking through. We've had so many amazing comments. Wow, there we go. First one. Hi, boys. Great. Yep. We have had so many comments and DMs and that sort of thing over the last little while being like, where the hell are you guys? What's going on? We're getting the rerun factory and that sort of thing. But so I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm glad that I'm doing well now. But for the last about 3.5 weeks, I have had basically like a catastrophic back injury. I have been more or less in bed, crawling around, hands and knees. My family's sick of me. I'm not going to bore you with details, but we were sort of at a surgery situation that was on the table. I've been feeling much better. Thank your local chiropractor. My guys, heaven sent. That boy's ripped me apart more times than we'll just leave it at that. But and we've got a really cool kind of project. This kind of philanthropic.
What kind of chiropractor do you go into? That's all I want to know. Are you sure they have a license?
Is it on, right?
Do they have a license of any kind, or is it a white van? Which is it?
I feel like I've been lied to. So
I feel like you've been lied to. There is a giant dog in our green room.
Oh, there it is.
Huge.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, so this kind of goes back to exactly what's been going on the last little while. We've been, again, a little MIA. I want to apologize to everybody. James and I, again, myself, I was an asshole and I was jumping off a boat. Long story short, I ended up sort of hurting myself, straining myself. I am not 22 anymore, apparently. And when you're doing backflips and stupid shit off a boat, you end up in the hospital and crawling. That's a thing now. So
lots of crawling.
For the last little while, obviously you guys, you've reached out to us. I thank you for all of that. It's amazing to hear from all of you. It's been kind of overwhelming to hear all that sort of thing. But people have been asking, where are we? And then we've had sort of this philanthropic piece that's come into us as well. We've got a gentleman that, James has worked with for years. Really tough family situation, amazing family, tough individual who has sort of been unhomed ceremoniously in this sort of economy and everything that's going on right now. And James, the guy that he is, he's kind of been putting his back into getting this gentleman home, housed, and situated. And this is, sort of, and I don't want to put this the wrong way, but this is sort of a life and death scenario that we've been dealing with for the last little while, and getting this man somewhere that's going to be suitable. And to be honest with you, that sort of piggybacks perfectly into our guest today. And, here we are. We've been dealing with the Toronto Humane Society, the amazing people that were there. You guys have all seen the clips. You've seen the shorts. You've seen what we've, showcased at that organization. And we were very fortunate about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago now, to interview Lauralee Dorst. She's one of the registered veterinary technicians there, and really a fantastic woman. Lauralee, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm being bombarded.
That's the wrong side of the dog.
Did you plan for the dog, or was that just on a thing?
No.
Work home.
He's a very needy boy. He's actually adopted from Toronto Humane Society. So I got him 2 years ago. But yeah, he's needy, and that's him like saying, "Hey, I'm here. Like, pay attention to me and not be on a meeting." So
right.
So I saw this funny meme, and this is sad, but it was I didn't adopt my dog, but I didn't give birth to it either. I don't know if you get that joke, but I get it.
You know what? I think my dog adopted me. So like I got him during a very hard time in my life. I lost my other dog, and then I was going through like some anxiety issues and like just not feeling myself. And then I got him to help me with my anxiety, but lo and behold, he suffers from anxiety. So we're both like this little bit of a hot mess, trying to like balance each other out right now.
It is strange. Like Charlie's pulled off a little bit of my personality as well, my little dog. He's an asshole. He's a constant asshole. Yeah. No, he's just like, he's kind, he's generous, he's giving,
philanthropic,
he's good looking, he's philanthropic, he's just amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lauralee, it is amazing to have you here. From the time that we met you on site at the Toronto Humane Society during that great event that you guys held.
Yeah.
We got to sit down with you before we even set up a camera because you seem to be the only one knowing that knew what was going on in the whole place,
Yeah,
including the Wi-Fi password, which we couldn't find. So it is amazing to have you on our show so that we can actually talk to you. This young lady started with rats and ended up with obviously dogs. And I can't wait till you hear your story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you started from so everyone can get to know you a little bit better?
Like, how far do you want me to go back?
All the way. Like
back.
The moment that you went like
the moment I came out, okay, which was
I saw light.
So that happened to be on New Year's Day, 1982. First baby born in Milton, Ontario.
Wow.
No lie, like no shit, like for real. Was in the paper, in the newspaper.
free diapers for a year.
Probably not back then. I have no idea. But yeah, like I don't even know where to start, guys. Like,
you don't really have to start at this, like wherever you feel comfortable, right? Like,
no, but I've been through.
Conception would be a little tricky to go back to. Like,
yeah,
we don't have to go there. Like, I understand wherever you feel like your story starts. Yeah.
So I know, like, I was talking to you before about like growing up on a farm, but then when I re-listened back, I got it switched a little bit. So I'm gonna backtrack a bit. So I grew up in Milton until I was 3. My parents divorced, and then my mom remarried, and we moved to the farm.
Okay.
So when I was in town, that's when I found this dead sewer rat that I told you about, and I brought it home. And I think that was like the moment that for me that I was like, this is my thing. And I don't know, I was 3, I was young, but anyway, I just had this gift and this love for animals. So then I went to the farm, grew up there with dogs, horses. Wasn't a great childhood. Was estranged from my mom, ended up moving out when I was 12. That's a whole like separate story. If we have like 5 hours to get into that.
Yeah, 4, but like
we got 4.
Yeah.
Very stressful, traumatic childhood growing up. My mom suffered from mental health, never dealt with. My brother and I were used as pawns with my dad. So it was like leverage. So there was like, it was conditional love with my mom. So at that point, that's where I started connecting with my animals because I felt safe with them where I did not feel safe with my, like I have a gift now and people are like, people see it. I can walk into a room and you see me doing this and seeing who's around me and already like assessing body language and who's my threat in the room. And I can pick up everyone's like their energy and it drains me. And that I think is from childhood because as soon as I came down in the morning, I would look and see engage what type of mood my mom was in. And was I going to be in shit that day? Or was she actually going to like love me like a daughter? So that went on for 12 years. And then I moved into town with my dad. And then that just like spiraled out in my teenage years, made some really shitty choices. Didn't do great in school, ended up being a high school dropout, got kicked out of my house twice. And at 18, I was almost living on the streets. I was this close. Again, really bad decisions until one person actually like believed in me and like gave me that like you can do better. And if you don't make that choice now, you are going to go down that path of no return. So it was at that moment I ended up calling my dad. He let me. Okay, not right now. Ask Charlie, please. I asked my dad to come back home at 18, and then I got a job at LifeMates, the relationship people. So I was a matchmaker for people. I was matching like relationships with people in Winnipeg, Calgary, like, and I was there for a couple of years and I really enjoyed it, really started developing like my people skills. And then I applied to college and I got into college after I went back and got my GED. So I had to like a lot of backpedaling throughout my life, a lot of struggles. I was tired. I'm still tired of struggling and like fighting. Like nothing ever came easy to me. So I went back to Sheridan. I got my animal care certificate, applied to Seneca College, went for my tech, became valedictorian in 2010 of my technician school. Guys, can I tell you, I've always been labeled as the F up of the family, was going nowhere. And I still kind of like feel that I'm labeled as like this troubled kid.
Yeah.
And I don't take time to sit back and go, look what I've accomplished. Like I was a 4.0 valedictorian, and now I'm a director at Toronto Humane Society, where I could have been down a really terrible path. Yeah. So yeah, that's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely. But
sorry, Pat, I just want to jump in quick. It's interesting what you were talking about, because we just had the great opportunity of talking to Tim Fletcher. And he is all about studying and helping people with complex trauma.
Yeah.
And he talked about the fact that when you were a child and you grow up in that situation, which I also did, you become hypersensitive to everything around you, to the point that you are always making sure everyone around you is happy, safe, and feeling good. But it's more because you want to feel safe. It has nothing to do with trying to please your mom or trying to please Billy or whoever's around you. It's about the way I feel safe is that I keep everyone up. So it's so interesting that coming off the back of that interview, we're talking to you about it.
Yeah.
But it must really help you with your job, because I know myself, I am a really good judge of character, because talking to people, I notice their body language. I notice where they look. I notice how they sit. I notice how they use their voice and their, intimidation or no intimidation. So you could really build a profile of someone who wants to adopt a pet.
That is true. And you know what? I've never gone into the adoption side of THS, but you nailed it. So I feel too, yes, I agree. It gives me kind of these superpowers, but I also think there has a little bit of not a negative effect, but a definite drawing down effect, because I'm always trying to fix things. I am that fix it person. I don't want someone to ever feel like what I did, to ever feel like less than or not worthy. So I think now that I'm overseeing the urgent care program and I'm getting out in the community and I'm seeing people that are on these hard times and just have been dealt a shitty hand and being labeled as that, and then nobody gives them two looks to help them. It's just, I want to be there and be like, we got you. Yeah. We're here for you. And so yes, it's a good thing. It can be a bad thing at the same time, because I overdo it. And then I get totally depleted because I'm trying to keep everybody out of what I went through as a kid.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when we were there on your open house day. We filmed a bunch of stuff. Prosecutors out there, you've seen it, all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that we saw is that when we first walked in, we're a couple guys, we're in a suit. You guys saw what we were wearing. And everyone was just doing their thing. It was seamless, the way that the organization was running. And then you were one of the first people that we kind of ran into. Hey, I'm Lauralee. I'm going to get you guys all set up here. That's great. Yeah. But you took care of us, right? Everyone else was doing their jobs, right? And you're like, these guys are lost. Yeah. They have no idea where they need to be. I got you. And you set us up and you made us comfortable. And you're like, can I get you waters? Can I get, right? Whatever you need, right? I'm that. And then you scurried off and did your thing while we set up. But that, you called a superpower, that took you away from your task, your assignment, that sort of thing. And that giving is really sort of unique in a lot of cases. No one else dropped everything and was like, oh, we got these assholes in suits. Let's figure out who they are. Lauralee comes running up. You people, look at the look on that idiot's face. Right?
I don't know where it comes from, Pat. I do know. I should say that. I was never brought up that way, right? My mother and my stepfather were very much selfish, self-centered. They're out to get what they needed. Yeah. My dad was more I'll do whatever to help you. So I probably get it from my dad, but life is hard. Life is shit sometimes. Yeah. And I want to make sure that people feel seen and heard.
That's a beautiful empathy, though. And I think that, when we talk about here on Soaring Prophets, our big thing, I know you've watched every episode. I'm not talking to you, Lauralee, all the rest of you. But that is our mission here, is that we have these amazing people on that have had wild struggles, wild strifes in their life, and they've achieved, they've overcame, they've had that sort of thing. Yeah. So to be honest with you, Lauralee, we have had instances of people exactly like yourself telling us that story before, where we tap in and we go, that's a survivorship, right? It's not so innate in regards to, I've been through some shit. Everyone has. but I've been through some shit. I've got the scars, I've got the wounds, and therefore I can see those scars and wounds in somebody else. And I can look at them and go, you can do it too. You can achieve it. You can push through. You can make something, because I was there. I just needed someone to take a chance on me. I needed somebody to take an opportunity on me, and I'm willing to help you with that. I'll do what I can for you in this moment. And that grows into beautiful, amazing things, right? Yeah. Like what you guys have done at Toronto Humane Society blows my mind. It really is impressive. That organization, the way that you all work together, like I'm sure you guys have your water cooler bullshit, right? Like there's there's definitely an asshole in the office. We're not going to say who it is, right? But now you know who it is. We're going to
me all day,
right? But that's the thing, right? Is that you guys all work really well together. Like that entire crew of people. Yeah, we're blown away with the way that you guys just come together, solve problems, and the unique problems that you guys solve. Like animal social work. Yeah, what are you talking about? Like walking in there, I would have never known that was even remotely a thing. It was a wild thing. But when you finish school, you go through here, you become the valedictorian, you start getting these, I call them Vada boys, right? I got a 15-year-old daughter. I'm always giving her, the Vada boy, right? Yeah. Like that's figurative Vada boy. Yeah. When you get that, probably for one of the first times in your life, what was that opportunity like for you? Did it feel like there was an open door, that light at the end of the tunnel? I am worth. What does that look like?
At that particular time, it was like, what's next? It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
That's the downfall, because I still it's like I'm chasing something. Now I'm better, and I'm actually taking time to reap the rewards or be proud of what I've accomplished. But that's still really hard. It's like it's never good enough. So it's still that little child in my head being like, okay, you got to keep going instead of just rest and enjoy.
I was just talking to a friend about that. That's at the top of her game, and she's doing everything. And what you talked about, you get to that point where, especially when you're empathetic, you are drained. You're almost like, I would just want to lie in my bed, and I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to look. I can't do anything. And it's instead of taking a moment on a high note when you're on top of the cliff and everything's great and everything's amazing, and you sit down and you go, holy cow, I can't believe I achieved all this.
Right.
You wait till your body literally has decided, you know what? If you're not going to take a break, I'm going to force you to take a break.
That's happened.
You don't get to enjoy it because you're dealing with this new stressor of, now I got to deal with my mental health. I got to deal with my illness. I got to deal with maybe a bad back because I think that I can do a triple burner off a boat because I'm 20. But yeah. You guys, so getting back kind of to the Humane Society, and we were talking about how empathy is a superpower for people who have, like I just said, the complex trauma. You are working in a unique situation with the community. Maybe you could talk more about it, because people, when they think about the Humane Society, I know when Pat and I walked in there and went, we're going to see some cute dogs and some kitties, and we're going to chat about adoption, and we're going to play Sarah McLachlan music, and we're going to show off some dogs. But it wasn't that at all. It was a complex, well-oiled machine that every single person who had a job in it was more than proud. It was like a badge of honor that you all wore because of the success that you're having. But I'd really like you to unveil some of that story.
Sure. Well, like I said, in the previous interview, the industry has shifted, right? The sheltering industry. And even when I was frontline RVT dealing with shelter or surrender, a mission, animals coming in, surrender animals, there was always this behind judgment of the owners. Why are you surrendering? Oh, you had a baby, so you're surrendering. So there was this is 10 years ago. Okay. 12 years ago when I started, there was this not anger, but it's why did you get a dog or a cat and now you're giving them away because you had a baby, right? Yeah. That has shifted. It definitely shifted in me. a long time ago before I came into management, but I've seen it on the team right now on the front lines. And I think it's beautiful because now we're looking at and understanding the challenges that are in the community that people face, that they don't go out asking to like adopt a dog or have a dog and then having to surrender. It's not like that. And I think people like we're involving the humans more. We're listening. It's not all about the animals where what used to be like all about animal welfare. It's now like this whole package. And what can we do to help keep these families together? And that's why like I love my job, because I'm dealing with public trainings under me, our urgent care program, our pet parent support network, public vet service. So there's like all these different avenues that I can pull on to try to not have that animal come into the shelter side and to not break that human animal bond. And I've sat down with these people and I've had those hard conversations and I've listened and I've felt those emotions. And I think that's why, yes, my empathy, my compassion definitely comes in handy, because I can sit there and I can actually feel and understand what they're going through and help them the best that I can. Right. And so does the team. And I'm able to like give that out to the team as well on how to address situations, which is beautiful.
No, it's watching what you guys are building and the fact that, you have so many different avenues that you folks have built off of. Mm-hmm. Like we're about an hour and a half east of you folks. We have like an international, like a lot of our people are out of the States and that sort of thing. So when we say the world, nobody knows where the hell that is.
No, not
no, right. So, we're in about an hour and a half. We're kind of cottage country. And we had a $16 million build that we just did with our local Humane Society. And everyone in the community was like, what? Like $16 million for a bunch of cages for dogs? And then they started kind of unveiling sort of what you folks have pioneered in showcasing. And the community was like, that's amazing. How much more money can we give? Like the philanthropic efforts that have went into that Humane Society locally have been wild, and sort of like we have a massive homeless population, right? Yeah. And our dogs are well kept. Yeah. Like it's sort of this, weird, relationship, the symbiotic thing that's going on. But when you first threw that out into the public and said $16 million for a Humane Society, you could have heard a pin drop in the community, like $16 million. But they don't realize the larger facets that go on here is that this is not just like James was saying. Yeah. Like you folks are doing human social work as much as you're doing the pet piece. Like you become community social workers, managing, going into people's homes, checking on environments. Like you're going in and making sure things are okay at a different level than, some of the community resources. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Like how are you working through that step with your staff?
How are we? Well, did you meet Dylan? No, you guys didn't meet Dylan. You met Brianne. So Dylan is our director, master social worker, and she has some really beautiful contacts like in the city. Yeah. And with the human shelters and the human like cooling centers, heating centers and stuff like that. So we're trying to get in there because we're trying to advocate for animals to be allowed in these spaces with the humans. Right. Which is an issue, because a lot of people will not leave their animals and they'll sleep out on the street in minus 30-degree weather with their animal. So we're really pushing forward to advocate for that and get out there and provide food into these shelters to be able to give to folks when they need food as well. So we're trying to do it from that lens to keep animals out of the shelter. To keep them healthy too. We go into the community on our community pop-up wellness clinics, and we're vaccinating for free the animals. We're giving preventative microchipping if they want, and they're having a vet wellness check. And if there's anything outside of that, we could either have them come back to the clinic. So we're trying to get out into the community where people maybe don't have access or don't know about us. Right. And then trying to help other shelters. A lot of other Humane Societies and shelters do reach out to us for our expertise or how they can start a similar program in their area, which I love, because I think all of us working together will make a bigger impact than working against each other. So Yeah.
I love your whole system, especially the non-judgmental part. I had an issue where my daughter was having a surgery. I had to be with her in Halifax for 30 days plus.
Yeah.
And I had people watching my dog, right? But unfortunately, my dog is so attached to me, it became a serious issue. Like he was barking nonstop. He was going to the bathroom everywhere. And it got to the point that it was really, I can't leave my daughter. So here I am in a situation where like I ended up feeling horrible that I ended up calling the Humane Society, feeling like a heel, feeling like an awful human being. And I asked those like, so what do you guys do if in this situation without bringing myself in, because I was so embarrassed by it. Now, fortunately, I have a good support group around me. And when I mentioned to them that I was going to give up Charlie, they were like, no, you're not. And they started like, I had, I don't know, 8 people a day coming into my house and checking on him and hanging out with him, the walks. And the community, the people around me are beautiful people for doing that, because they did it for 30 days.
Wow.
Every day coming in, checking on Charlie. Even my ex-wife, who doesn't like me very much, came in and did it. So
I do remember that now. I forgot about that.
That's pretty special.
That's pretty special. So the whole idea that, you know, like you said before, it was the thought, well, why the hell did you get a dog anyway? Right? But there are all these extenuating circumstances. Like I didn't know my daughter was going to need me for a month. There was nothing for me to know that to happen. Or maybe, you know, I'm like Pat, I hurt my back and I got to go to the hospital for 3 days. Well, what do I do with my dog? Do I have to give up my dog now? But you guys don't do that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So our urgent care program was launched 2021. So we're still collecting a bunch of data and running it collecting data so we kind of know. But basically, people fleeing domestic violence, people needing medical, if they're going into the hospital or need some type of support that they can't care for their animal for a short period of time, up to 6 months. Precarious housing, or if they're about to lose their housing and they need to go into a shelter that doesn't allow animals, they can submit a request, an application into our urgent care program, and we will bring your animals in and have them out on foster with one of our foster parents for a certain period of time, up until 6 months, and then we would like to return them to you.
And you're not giving up your child, your buddy, your best friend.
No, we're keeping the family united. They're not staying in the shelter situation, like in a sheltering situation. We're getting them out into a home to try to relieve that stress. But then the humans can focus on getting themselves better, right? They know that their animal's going to be taken care of medically. We're going to make sure they're up to date on vaccines and all the preventative stuff. And they're going to have food and water, and they're going to have a nice cozy bed to sleep on until their humans ready to come get them.
Yeah.
So
which is amazing, like the whole foster care and all of that stuff. So Pat and I showed up, and the whole way there, we're driving. It was, I don't know, 4 a.m. I don't even remember. It was really early in the morning. We're like, we're going to pet some dogs. we're having a good time with it. And then we showed up. There was one dog. I think maybe 2 cats and a snake, which we never looked at because Pat was too afraid. I wanted to, but Pat didn't want to. Like I wanted to cuddle it, but Pat didn't. But and then we asked,
6'1", 220 pounds. Like I think I could take it if I had to, but I don't need to.
They're so sweet.
No. Well, okay, I like to lead in.
But you're in a town, like what's Toronto? Population of Toronto. I can only imagine the animals that come every day.
Mm-hmm.
And there were no animals there. That shocked me.
Yeah.
So why is that?
So a lot of them are on foster, but we also do like appointment-based intake, right? So it's not open admissions. It's a request has to come through, or they call our Pet Parent Support Network, PPSN, and then we try to figure out, are there ulterior, oh my God, I can't even speak tonight. Alternative solutions for you not to have to surrender your animal, or what's going on, right? Because the reasons we do this, one, it gives people time to think and try to figure out alternatives, right? So either, hey, maybe Pat wants to take your dog, or you know what I mean? Like maybe there's somebody else within your network that would take your dog, so you don't have to surrender, or Cat. And then medical issues and things like that. So it gives us time to make sure that we have the resources to care for that animal coming in, and it just limits and keeps our population under control so that there's not disease outbreaks. And you hear a lot of shelters, some shelters are overrun and they're having like disease outbreaks, and then there's not enough staff, and then they're not getting cared for. So we're very strategic in ensuring that we're doing the best that we can for the animal, as well as the humans that are having to make that difficult choice.
Okay, so now that he's finished his question, I would like to go back to the snake topic. So what?
Okay.
Okay. Just hear me. They have scales. So I've got a beautiful 8-year-old golden retriever at home. If I'm looking for cuddles, get it the peanut butter, whatever your thing is. But too soon. Too soon. Okay, too soon. But like when we're talking about like cuddly loving animals,
yes,
snakes don't come across myself like that. Look at that guy,
Really?
like that,
Merlin, Mr. Merlin.
But like a snake. But I know lots of people that have had that conversation. They're like, they're my favorite pet. They're so cuddly. They're it's not the adjective I would use. So walk me through the snake process.
Well, I don't cuddle snakes. Let's just be clear with that. Hi. Sure. See, needy. I don't cuddle snakes, but I know people who really enjoy snakes, and they wrap themselves around and they're warm. And that's, I don't know. I don't judge. You do you.
You're making this like a sexual thing. Like I was joking about the peanut butter, but like, what do you got going on here with the snake community? What is that? How long? I'll leave it.
How else are you cuddling with a snake? I don't know. You're not like
I don't know either.
Big spoon on him. Like he's
I think they constrict you, don't they? Don't they like to like wrap around you? And
it's a
there's
thing.
right now a snake in my house. It's a little white snake that is a mini boa or something. I don't understand it. It's supposed to stay in his cage at all times. That's one of the rules. So
you know they can get it.
Know this.
He's not coming to your house.
What are you talking? Like really? You have what?
Oh yeah, really. One of my tenants has one. Yeah. And it's cute, but I never see it, and it makes me very happy not to see it.
What do you mean it's cute? It's not like I can't get there. Cat got it. Dog all day. I'm a dog guy.
What about a rat?
Ferret. See, it's the fucking tail.
Okay.
Like it's the like you put fur on that. You give me
eyes.
Pearl.
The cold,
you give me
eyes.
Pearl. I'm in. Right? It's that weird kind of scaliness. Like it's eczema. Like I'm not big on people with eczema, maybe even, but like it's that tail. I can't do it.
Really? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story. You know how I found when I was little the rat?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, walking out on my street. I'm like, what is that on the road? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a rat. And I'm like, is it dead? And it lifts its head up. I was like, oh, and it was really hot out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, now I look really skinny and dehydrated. So went back home, got a thing of water.
Here comes the empathy. Yeah, hang on.
Got a thing of water, got half a banana, ran back over. He lifted his head up, started eating the banana. So I got gloves. I had gloves, and I picked him up, put him on the grass. And then he was eating the banana, drinking the water, started bathing himself, looked at me, and then like pieced out into the ravine. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm saving this poor dehydrated rat so he can.
What rat?
What if it's like what if it's a shtick he's learned? What if he's like, you know what? I'm gonna lie in the middle of the road because someone's gonna come along, feed me a banana, and give me some water.
Maybe.
I do Queen Street East at noon. Yeah, I head over to Bloor at 4. Bay guys, they're a little harder, but they have better snacks. It's a whole shit the guys.
I think he was young. He looked like a juvenile. He was not in great shape. But I have to. I'm not just going to walk by and let him die on the road. Can't.
You are a better woman than I.
See,
better than anyone on my street, apparently.
Pat has no empathy, so like he would just walk by. He'd probably kick it. I'm just saying.
It's funny you saying that, man, because I would have walked up to it and been like, "Oh, did a squirrel get hit by? Did a squirrel?" And then I'd be like, "Oh, fuck, a rat!"
No, it's a living being. It will be safe. Yeah. I swerve, so yeah, I'm bad because I will stop and swerve my car to not hit an animal.
How's the turtle capacity? Because we're up in that part of the world, right? Like every sign that you see, every third one is stop for turtles, right?
Yeah, that's a terrible death. Like it's very painful for turtles when they get run over and their shells crack. Right. Very painful.
Yeah,
I can imagine getting hit by a car is.
I have a friend that currently so where she lives, turtles come up and they make like little holes, and then they give birth to a bunch of billion turtles, and then she protects them until they're born. And then when they're born, she calls a certain agency and they come and collect them and then make sure they live. But it's such a great program. It's pretty amazing. But she has all these videos of turtles like coming out. And
is there a rat feeding them pizza?
Splinter. My son said it's Splinter, and I'm like, yeah, he's gonna go hang out with the Ninja Turtles.
I'm a late 80s kid, so like Mutant Ninja Turtles was like my dream. Like I learned what the hell a Michelangelo was, not by $1 million art. I learned it because he eats pizza in a sewer.
Yes, with Splinter, his dad. If you want to call him. There you go.
Yeah. I had the best slippers. They had little Ninja Turtle heads on them. I'm just picturing me. I would buy them now. Like I would spend hundreds of dollars to have those slippers again. Anyone out there listening? Just saying.
Find this man some turtle slippers.
I'll pay for it.
Yeah, find some Ninja Turtle slippers. He'll wear them.
Yeah.
I bet you they're on Amazon. I bet you.
I have looked, but they have to be the red ones.
Oh.
I don't know Raphael.
Raphael.
I think we got a little derailed here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This is what you do. I'm so high on back medication. I don't even know where I am.
So what? Okay. So I had a problem.
Go back to the conversation. We're past that. We're now living in sewers talking about turtles eating pizza.
Mine's related.
Dialogue.
Mine's related. So I had an incident where there was a raccoon and it had a hurt leg, like a really badly hurt leg.
Yeah.
And so I tried to contain it, and it was not having any of that. So it went under a car. So then I started calling people in Peterborough, and I could get no one to come. No one would come. Humane Society said, no, we don't do that. Animal Control said, no, we don't do that anymore. So we ended up paying someone to come take care of it. And I have no idea what happened to this raccoon. I don't know if it was rehabilitated or just let free. I have no idea. Is there a system by which in Toronto that they deal with that? Because they have raccoons and rats and all sorts of wild animals.
So a lot of people bring them to us. We don't have a wildlife license, so we can't treat any wildlife. So we end up referring them to Toronto Wildlife Center, and some of our people end up driving. We have to call them first to see if they have capacity based on the injury. If it's too severe, then we would go ahead and humanely euthanize if the animal's in a really bad condition. But if it's rehabilitatable, that was a good word, right? Then we would send it to Wildlife Center for rehabilitation. But there's not enough around, I think. No. Yeah, it's difficult for us. So.
Yeah, and to know what to do in that situation, because really you should be leaving it alone. But then they're in such a bad condition. Like his leg was smaller than the other 3 legs. So obviously he's been dealing with it for a long time. I just happened to be coming up at the right time.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, it was kind of scary, and my empathy took over and I was trying to deal with it. But when there's no help around, I just don't know. So let's get back to the actual Humane Society stuff. And
down on your front
lawn. You touched upon it a little bit. Let's say, I have a dog, and right now our profiteers out there are going to be faced with this. Rent goes up. I can't afford my rent. Now I got to move to a 1-bedroom house, or maybe I become unhome myself and I got to move back with my parents, and I can't take the dog with my parents. what do we do in that situation when it comes to the Humane Society?
Depends on what you're looking for. Like if you absolutely can't take your dog, right? And we can't and there's no one else within your network, then we take them and find them a new home.
So is that a phone call, or do we show up at your door? Or
there's an application there. If you go on our website under hello. If you go on our website, there is.
He's worried you're going to rehome him. He heard.
What do you mean paperwork, Ma? What are you talking about here? Who the hell are these guys?
You fill out an application online, which goes to our intake department, and they'll go through it. And it's a pretty lengthy, because we need all the details, like any medical history, behavioral history. And then one of our intake agents would contact you and then set up a time to bring in.
Is there ever a no?
Yes, there is.
And why? What would be the conditions of no?
So we track capacity for care within the shelter, right? At different things. So not only space, but we also look at medical capacity. And I will explain that in a sec. So medical capacity, as well as our TLC animals. So animals that have more behavioral challenges that need a little bit more care and work. So medical capacity, if we're way over capacity in terms of the medical cases that we have based on how many RBTs and DVMs that we have to be able to treat them appropriately, then there's a no to accepting any more big medical cases. Huge amputations or cardio issues, anything that's pretty big for us to maintain. TLC dogs, not so much cats, become a little bit of a challenge because there needs to be a risk of putting an animal that's already having behavioral challenges from an environment into a confined new environment, and then us trying to work with him without causing risk to the staff. And then with that risk, it's rehoming, right? So a shelter environment, not ideal for animals, dogs specifically with behavioral. I don't call them problems, I call them challenges. Behavioral opportunities to fix, right?
Yeah.
So yes,
what I call that a behavioral opportunity.
And it's usually the larger dogs, unfortunately, that are really extreme behaviorally challenged, that are lunging or have a bite history. It becomes, do we have resources to successfully manage? Meaning, can we find a foster parent so that this animal's not sitting in the shelter and developing more behavioral issues that we can't successfully treat? Yeah. So yes, there are no's.
Yeah.
But it's not just a no. It's no, but hey, why don't we try this? Or why don't we look at a German Shepherd only rescue out here and see if they can support?
Okay.
We just don't flat out know. There's we could try to guide you where they may have more capacity to help you.
Right. So I remember going through the process when I was, and I ended up purchasing my golden retriever. But I remember going through, because I had a very specific breed that I wanted, and the golden retriever thing was something that was the family dog, that was the white picket fence, that was the ideal, what I wanted. Yeah. But are there breeds that you see walk through the door at different rates and different capacities that some people maybe are getting a dog they don't realize, or what does that look like?
I'm trying. Are you asking, is there a common breed that we see come through?
Well, yeah. So what I would say is that, okay, so I really love, when Beethoven the movie was out, or the 101 Dalmatians, and something comes through the door and it changes, the dynamic of what it is. Like a Dalmatian, lovely, beautiful dog, but they are not necessarily an easy family pet.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain breed specific things that can be really problematic that lead or might lead to, because I know I was probably 3 years where I tried to look when I was younger. My family dog growing up was also a golden retriever, and we spent probably 3 years trying to find a rescue golden, and it was how my parents got me to piss off about getting a dog immediately. I'm no dummy. It just takes me a while to understand the game.
Right?
Oh, we can't find one.
Yeah, we should probably call again next month.
Yeah.
So anyway,
you know what? They're rare in the shelter.
Yeah.
Goldens, I haven't seen them, but I think I know there was a span where they were being overbred, golden retrievers, and they were developing behavioral issues because they were like the perfect family dog. Yeah. And what was there a movie that came out with Goldens? Like,
well, that Airbud, right?
Airbud.
Maybe movies, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So then they were being
basketball at him, and he just gets hit in the head. Like my guy, I think he's probably a better cheerleader. I don't know, but
yeah. So I mean, I don't know if it was back then. We may have saw more come through. Like, there's been a couple, but no. Like, honestly, right now we have a lot of puppies.
Really?
Yep. And they're more like the bully short hair breed dogs that are coming through right now.
Yeah.
I can't really think like there's a specific where we're constantly seeing turnover of a specific breed. No.
Well, you brought up a good point about the behavior thing. Like, a lot of people don't get that dogs have to be trained at all times. Like, it's not just a one and done. You can't just add a puppy train them. Like, I still am training my dog. He's 14. He's on his way out, unfortunately, but I still have to take that time to train him. Like, he still tests whether or not he's the boss or I'm the boss. He still, he'll still do things that I don't think are appropriate, and I have to like tell him that it's not appropriate. Yeah. And I don't think people get that. And
well, when he gets the peanut butter jar out, like, he's got to stop.
Yeah.
Then he's good. He's so good then. But you guys have a whole behavior system. We got to talk to, I don't remember her name.
Claire.
We got to talk to Claire, and she talked about how that because these dogs do get, like, I meet them. The reason I don't go to the dog park anymore is because of the owners who can't train their dogs properly. Yeah. I don't blame the dogs at all. It is definitely an owner problem. Yeah. And so you get to a point where maybe your dog has but 2 people, but that's because of what you're doing. And she starts helping them. Maybe you talk. I know it's not your field, but I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah. So yes, Claire, amazing. I'm like, so yes, Claire's amazing. She's so good with people too. Yeah. But we really advocate, like, from puppy, like, puppies need to be socialized. Like, there's like these stages, right, of socialization, enrichment that is super important. Which my dog, I think, lacked when I got him. He was already, not a bad thing. He was already 6 months old, and he was already bounced from a couple homes. So, but he's a lab Siberian Husky. So he's got the smarts, and then I think he's got the little bit of the dumminess from the last side. Contradicts one another. But no, like, puppies need to be out in the environment. They need to see what's going on. They need to socialize, right? So that is something that we truly advocate on. And then you're right, like, constantly working with them through all stages of life. And it's not just to curb the behavior it is, but it's also very enriching to them because dogs want to learn. Yes. But the biggest thing is knowing the dog, knowing the breed you're getting into, knowing how stubborn certain breeds are. Like my dog, the Husky in him, oh my Lord, he will stand there and stare at me for 10 minutes and we're having a stare off because he doesn't want to come inside. And I'm like, dude, goodbye. And I shut the door. Like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. But understanding, like, the different traits that those breeds bring and that you guys kind of gel and then you can make it work.
Yeah. Well, so I have a mini golden doodle, and that was the easiest dog I've had. Like, before, when I was a kid, I had a German Shepherd, also easy dog to train, but not easy dog to train at the same time because he had his own personality and he was strong-willed. Sure. And Charlie, on the other hand, was, if you give me a treat, I will do whatever you want me to do in any capacity. And he's still like that. Like, whatever you want, Dad. I don't care. You want me to walk a tightrope. Okay. Like, he has just been the easiest, best dog to ever have to train. And he is just so well behaved at all times, except when I'm not here. And then he starts doing things that he shouldn't do, which Pat can attest to, unfortunately. But that's just it. I think that we have to, like, when we get these dogs, especially, because of a movie or because we think it's going to be cute or my kid needs a dog, we have to do research. I literally read a book on training for my specific breed. You can't just read any dog on training, any book on training. You have to, and now we have Google. You can literally find out and ask questions and go and meet them and, you know, understand what you're getting into. Like a full-bred husky, you're not keeping them in the 12th story apartment.
No, you're not.
He needs to run, right? Whereas, you know, a small little dog, maybe not the greatest thing to be deep in BC where the bears are, because he's going to get eaten, right? So you really have to do that. Is there any education piece in that area that the Humane Society is doing now?
With like breed selection,
or just making awareness that, you know, just because it's Easter does not mean you need to buy your kid a rabbit that you're going to throw away.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do definitely do that. Yeah. Like we do talk about like pets shouldn't be gifts because basically because do we like you're gifting an animal, do they even want that animal? And is that animal going to end up back in the shelter? Right. So yeah, we do advocacy around that, but I do like the thought that you just brought up about more education around specific breed types. That might be helpful, like knowing what a Belgian Malinois is and that you're not going to go get that and expect it to be some couch potato. That dog will tear up your house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's a working dog. Like they're police dogs. They want to work. So it's like knowing
Velociraptor that lives in the room next to you.
Right. So, I mean, that's interesting. You know what? I'll talk to the behavior team and see if they want to start putting.
Look at guys. We are changing the whole dynamics of the Toronto Humane Society here. I think this is a perfect note to kind of end on.
We're done. That was so fast.
I think it is amazing that you gave up your time. You're obviously a very busy woman. In fact, you rushed in from cheerleading practice after being thrown in the air several times.
Yes.
And, you know, the pom-poms. And I can only imagine what you went through. And then obviously your child needs your attention and your dog. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. You are an amazing person. From the time we walked in and you helped us when we were lost, and we were very lost at the time. And then sitting down to talk about your amazing story coming from, you know, a tough home is not easy, you know, not getting that nurturing and support, and then becoming the top of your class and, you know, going that extra, that's a champion story. And now you're helping people in a unique way, you know, have good lives and not feel bad about themselves. And I just think that is the most amazing thing out there. Profiteers out there, coming up, it's going to be touch and go. Like Pat said, we have this thing going on that's I've kind of enlisted Pat as well because of his financial expertise. I need that for what I'm doing here. So it's going to be touch and go. You might see some reruns. I hope you bear with us for like a month, maybe a little bit more. We'll see. But we do have a couple of great interviews coming up that are going to be amazing. I do encourage you to go back to see the Tim Fletcher interview. It was amazing. The you know, first of all, I changed in my co-host because he had to crawl that day.
That's when it started. That was the
beautiful Tana. Yeah. And not only is she beautiful, but she has this great child care education that brought in such a beautiful piece. It was kind of kismet that it happened. Anyway, it was all about complex trauma and how in childhood it affects your adulthood, and how he even went into a little bit about how to counteract that, how, you know, people like Lauralee, obviously, and myself who get burnt out and who feel the need to make sure everything's safe. Even as an adult, I'm 54 years old and I'm still looking around me, making sure that I feel safe, which is a weird concept for me because I didn't know. I thought I was helping people because I was trying to help people. But when you break it down, it really is so I feel safe in a room. It's a strange concept. Check it out. It's in one of our lives, and it is an amazing interview. And then check him out because, you know what? I stole him from Theo Vaughn, good friend. I don't know him at all, but I was watching the Theo Vaughn podcast and I poached him, and I was so excited. I was literally giddy. I was calling Pat and telling him how excited I was. So I really do want you to check out that interview because the people that DM me and talk to me about some of the things they're going through, it is very much rooted in this whole complex trauma. And I think if you look into it, you research it, do some work in that area, and then maybe talk to your therapist about it, I think it'll help you millions. Profiteers out there, you know I love you. You know I care for you, and I want you to do your very best. Just because, you know, maybe we're offline, we're doing some reruns and stuff, still DM me. Still come talk to me. If you need some help, I'm there for you. I'm in. Let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together. Pat?
Yeah, Lauralee, it was a pleasure when we met you. It was a pleasure again tonight. You're fun. You bring an air of compassion with a sense of humor. It was a really cool thing tonight, and it was a pleasure when we had the opportunity to chat with you before. It's wild what you guys are doing there. You're putting, you know, a really human face on an animal problem, and it really hits home. So I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come in. It was been a very unique aspect. But so this is usually in the phase where we ask our guests, we sort of do the one gotcha kind of question. And what it is that it's kind of like, what would you say if somebody in your topic, your area, so, you know, animal problem kind of thing,
okay,
if they were out there right now and they're struggling, they don't know what to do tomorrow. They're like, I'm up against whatever, you know, controversial problem. I got an issue. I got something I got to deal with. What's your piece of advice for them to help them get through that next day and see that light at the end of the tunnel?
To stop and take a breath and breathe and really lean on your support network for advice, and just tomorrow will be a better day. But yeah, one day at a time. Yeah.
I love it. From me, folks, profiteers, let's make some money together.